just to like have physical space with someone like Aaron, but in such a beautiful, serene place where there are like literal bunnies and beavers that will like run past the studios, or it's like so wild. It feels like some kind of Snow White situation.
Hi, I'm Rianne, and I'm joined by Gracie Abrams for the latest in NME's In Conversation series. How are you, Gracie?
I'm so good. How are you?
Good, thank you. Welcome to London.
Thank you.
Is this your first time here?
No, it's not. But it feels like my first time every time I come back. It's the best place ever, so I'm so happy to be here.
But you are playing your first shows here this week.
Yes.
How are you feeling about that?
I'm so excited. I was supposed to play my first show ever here, so to be back and to have it be the first shows that I've played overseas is super exciting and feels very right to me. So yeah, I couldn't be happier.
You're on your first tour. You played some shows in LA, in San Francisco, elsewhere in the States. How have they been going so far, and how has it kind of been going from doing like a bedroom tour to doing real life shows?
I far prefer real life shows, which is probably the normal answer, but I was so used to doing everything online forever because I definitely like hid myself in my room with my music before it was even like a requirement to isolate. But the audiences that I've been playing for have been like the most welcoming, like I feel like equally sensitive people as I am, so it's been a nice kind of comfortable, safe space, and every time the show ends, I'm very sad. When
you did kind of have to start doing everything online instead of like in person, was that kind of just like a very easy thing for you to do, seeing as you have kind of like grown up being a child of the internet, I guess?
Yeah, it felt so normal. But I guess just because of the pandemic, like I had so many friends that had toured in the past and would talk frequently about how much they miss shows and tour, but I had nothing to miss yet because I'd never done anything like that. So for me, it just felt like the most natural extension, having already talked to people on Instagram for so long, or in comments on YouTube or on SoundCloud or whatever it was, to truly not have to leave the room where I was writing all the music and just be able to interact with people that way. It was so normal, but leaving home now and being able to be in person with people that I've never met before is like, reminds me why like human beings love other human beings. I'm like, okay, that's how we're supposed to like be interacting. So I'm happy to be away from my phone, a bit more away from my computer, and to actually like meet people.
Yeah. Have you been meeting lots of fans at these shows then?
Yeah, it's the best part. I mean, it's just like I feel so close to all of them, just because in so many cases it's like I've truly been talking to these people on social media for so long, so it feels like meeting old friends after not seeing them for a long time, rather than meeting a crowd of people I don't know. I really do feel so close to all of them, so probably kind of unusual, but it's like it's a dream for sure.
A nice unusual.
Yeah, truly.
When you're done with this first lot of dates, what do you think is the biggest thing you're going to miss about playing to actual audiences?
I just think it has gotten me so outside my comfort zone, and I think I am someone that like has chosen to be alone a lot when I didn't need to be, and so to have been kind of like pushed outside my own bubble is so healthy, and I think I'm just gonna feel the difference massively when I'm not lucky enough to like be with a larger group of people than I normally would. Like, it's just fascinating. I have very few friends because I'm not the most like social person ever, and this has given me like more friends than I think like anyone has ever had ever. Like, it's like in every city to go and feel like I have like a family of people has been amazing, and so I'm just gonna miss that.
Do you kind of feel yourself changing and growing as you're like moving through these places?
Yeah, I think so. I hope so. I think my anxiety has changed a lot. I think it's been really good for my mental health to get out. They've been like a very soft landing pad for someone who is an introverted person. Like, but I think the fact that I miss doing it every time it's over speaks to hopefully some kind of growth. Yeah.
Being an introvert, how does that kind of work with playing on stage? Is it something that you get really nervous and anxious about beforehand?
I used to massively. I still do. Sometimes it depends. It's like there have been a few shows that I've been more nervous for than others, and I think I have a lot of like anticipatory anxiety in general. So when there's like an exact minute that you have to walk out and do something, it like sometimes my stomach will turn or whatever, but within 10 seconds of being out there, it's really a dream.
Yeah. Does it kind of feel like you're at home when you're on stage?
Yeah.
Nice.
Somehow.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Does finally being able to play these shows kind of feel like it makes everything real, like this big breakthrough moment that you've been having over the last like 2 or so years?
I don't feel it. I really think because of the people that I'm playing in front of, like they're all so kind and sensitive and like respectful and nice to each other. Like watching them interact during shows is like definitely one of the best parts. I think that like I don't feel any kind of shift. It's weird.
Yeah.
Probably maybe because of how much I interact with people online and have forever, that it just does feel like a very natural extension of everything else. But it's definitely nice to see physical bodies in front of me, just because I think it also, like, I love social media for the reasons that you can connect with people that you don't know and share music and you know, raise people's voices across the board, but it also like is definitely so confusing because it's not natural or normal to not have the physical connection, and it can feel less tangible than like shows do. I feel like I just rambled so hard, but I hope that answers your question.
That was a great answer.
Okay.
I wanted to ask you about social media, because a lot of artists, like big artists like Lana Del Rey and like Lorde and even Snail Mail have been kind of like pulling back from social media lately. I wondered what your experiences with it are and how you kind of see it being a part of music and artists' lives in the future.
I think I've benefited a lot from having the platform that I've had on Instagram, because that's where I started really like sharing music on social media. I was using SoundCloud forever before I even was allowed to have social media, but it's definitely exhausting too, and I think that I feel lucky because I don't, when I'm like writing or recording, my thought is not how it's going to translate online. I think that it is kind of an afterthought when it comes to like work stuff, but it is odd that it feels kind of like a requirement to a degree, because like I just know how heavy it can feel when it is a bad day, for example, and I think I feel very lucky to have like resources personally for my own mental health to help balance that out, but I'm very, very aware that that's not the case for everybody. So I think it's more like a general sensitivity that I have towards social media, because people are so ruthless, and it's not, it's so not natural to like have devices on us at all times where we can like see everything that everyone's doing and then get judged by strangers online. And I just, you know, I feel lucky that I didn't have it when I was like 10, 11, 12, but to like see kids walking around the street with it in their pockets or in their hands or whatever, it does freak me out generally for all of us, because I just feel, it feels nuts that is something that like developing brains have to be considering. But for music, it's obviously, it's so lucky to be able to just be anywhere in the world and hit a button and be able to share it. And I've found so many artists that I love, and am like forever fans of now because of social media. So I think, you know, pros and cons.
Yeah, definitely. You were the first international, like, non-Korean artist to be on Weverse, the platform that BTS's label created.
Yeah.
Which is, like, for people who don't know, just kind of like, it's one artist space that you sign up to.
Right.
Did that kind of feel like a more kind of like safer space for like your fans to kind of gather and talk to each other?
Yeah, I think so. I didn't know too much about it before the conversation began about joining it, but I loved it so much because it did feel so focused on music versus, you know, all other social media platforms. There's a lot more that people are kind of like looking for or want to grab onto, but to have a space where it's just a community of people that like feel the same way about an artist. I've like loved it as a fan of BTS just to have a platform where I can like stay up to date on everything in that way and read how much everybody loves them. And it's also cool to do something that feels like not centered in the US. Like it's I mean, it's also why I feel so happy to be here now, finally playing shows. It's just like, especially during the pandemic, everybody's worlds I think felt so tiny. And so both, you know, Weverse and now being here, like opportunities to step outside the bubble that is Los Angeles, California feels really nice. Yeah.
Expanding your world.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
So you have a new song, Rockland, coming out, which you worked with Aaron Dessner on.
Yeah.
How did you get to work with him?
We had a meeting over Zoom towards the beginning of the pandemic, and kind of just, it's fun. We just felt very similar. And as soon as it became kind of safe and possible for us to meet in person, I went to Long Pond, and we made 2 songs a day for a week and just got to know each other super well. And he's like a really important person in my life now, which is so nuts, because when I was like 13, I used to listen to the National in art class in my headphones, or, you know, hide on the bus, like listening to the music that he would make. So it's still crazy to think about, just because he's so wise and so patient and thoughtful and good at what he does, that I can't imagine anyone who's in the same room as him like not making something that they feel connected to.
Yeah.
So I'm so excited for it to come out. It's very funny. Yeah.
What was it like being in Long Pond as well as a Taylor fan too?
Like, so nuts, so crazy. But the place itself, like, it feels like it is writing songs for you. And my mom's family is from Maine, so I grew up being there a lot, and it feels like more of my home than LA does, honestly. And to have had a week to write in that kind of woodsy environment was like so necessary for me. I think as a person just getting out of Los Angeles, where it can feel very busy and loud, and everyone is in everybody's business, to like have physical space with someone like Aaron, but in such a beautiful, serene place where there are like literal bunnies and beavers that will like run past the studio. It's like so wild. It feels like some kind of Snow White situation. But yeah, obviously after Taylor was there, you kind of just like want to tiptoe around everything and be like extra careful. But yeah.
As someone who kind of started out working with people that you knew very intimately, how has it been making the shift to working with people like that Aaron that you listened to growing up and people that you don't know that well?
It feels still super. I definitely only work with a handful of people still right now, and I love meeting new people, like more so than ever. Like in the past year, it's been so great having the opportunity to like, whether it's just like sitting down and talking to someone, if it's not writing. I love it. But I definitely like, I wouldn't have felt like I could write the songs that I did with Aaron if it didn't feel that same kind of like past life connection in the way that I'm lucky enough to feel with like Blake, who I've been working with forever, and I've been lucky enough to work with Joel a handful of times now, and he's just like a good person. Like I feel like the common thread is just like I've been lucky to work with like really kind, generous people, and so in that way it feels totally natural. I've definitely never been able to write anything that I felt connected to when I felt like out of place or like insecure, looking around the room and feeling like I need to do something to like make somebody else feel a certain way. So it just, I think, really speaks to like the goodness of the people that I've worked with. Like for an anxious, introverted person to be able to like write in front of others, like just because I grew up only writing alone, very on purpose. So it's all them for sure.
Yeah. I can't imagine what it's like to have to sit and write a song in front of strangers.
Yeah, it's weird. It's weird until it's so not weird at all, and then it's the best. Yeah.
So you have this project coming out. This video is going to be out after the project is out.
Love
so
it.
We can talk about it a bit. What can you tell us about the new project that you have coming out after Rockland?
I've not gotten to talk about it yet. I genuinely love it so much. And I feel like I took lots of months of feeling unable to write, and then just got very honest with myself. And I'm relieved about this project because when I wrote Minor, it was definitely like in the middle of a breakup, feeling like it was what I needed to write about, which was very, very true. And I felt like a weight lifted when I put out Minor as well. But I feel like I had more patience with myself making this project and got a lot more honest with myself about like my relationship with me versus my relationship to others. And I feel like this project is kind of like more of a personal introduction than Minor was. I hope people like it. It's funny being on tour now, knowing the music that isn't yet out that I'll be playing in the spring, and just like, I kind of just cross my fingers every show that they'll feel the same way that they do about Minor with this new project. I hope. But but I'm proud of it. I really do. I do love it.
Yeah. When you say you were kind of getting honest with yourself, do you feel like you were figuring out who you are a bit writing this project?
Yeah, I think for sure. Like I definitely being away at Long Pond in that kind of environment also was like sort of a new writing exercise in itself, just being in a different place. And I felt so influenced by how quiet it was there. And I felt like it just was like very much injected in the writing, like being able to give space to things that I'd never really addressed in songs that have come out before, or just like a different kind of patience and like a different pace with the music. It felt super necessary, and I will definitely carry it with me forever. Just knowing that kind of thing exists is definitely a life-changing thing. As the writer version of me, I like think about it all the time, like every day.
Is the project kind of full of songs that you did with Aaron, or is there other collaborators on there as well?
There's a mix, yeah. It's bunch with Aaron, bunch with Blake, and some with Joel as well. Okay. So it's funny, the three of them, I feel like, are in such different lanes as well, which is amazing, and I'm each of their biggest fans, so it's funny to like, selfishly, I'm just so excited that I got to be a part of something that the three of them were also a part of.
When you're playing these shows, are you kind of like itching to play the new stuff and you're kind of frustrated that you can't?
Yeah. I actually, I had a show opening for Phoebe Bridgers like 2 weeks ago. I have no sense of time anymore. Recently. And I kind of tailored the set list for that audience just because it was a bit different. And I played Rockland for the first time, and that felt so good. So I've added Rockland in as of like 3 shows ago. So I'm sort of just like selfishly starting to like pull things in, but not too much. Definitely saving the stuff. Yeah.
What's the reaction been to Rockland like so far?
Very kind reaction. Yeah, I just can't wait for them to hear the actual version. Yeah.
Exciting. How did you find staying creative during lockdown?
Super tough. Yeah, super tough for a very long time. I think back to the social media bit, like feeling stuck and then having access to like, obviously it's like the glorified moments of everybody's lives, but to then like scroll for hours and see people that I love and admire like being the most full, forced, creative versions of themselves. You're like, whoa, like I'm doing something wrong, or I can't write anymore, or whatever. A lot of like unnecessary and unattractive like self-pity in feeling like stuck. But I'm really relieved to have felt that way so recently, because I definitely, there were months where I felt like it was like I would never be able to get back to a place where I felt like a fluidity with my writing again. So I definitely I feel very lucky that it was challenging for a really long time. It was the first time that I kind of experienced that as like a more adult person. But to reference it as like, yeah, you can feel like it's never going to be different, and then it is different. And it's just like there are waves of like, I think it's productive to feel stuck too now, which I did not think last year at all. So I'm amped. It's cool to feel challenged, and then when you're feeling like you can write again, then that's what you're writing about. It's like giving you something kind of like handed to you on a platter. It's like, use those feelings. yeah.
Do you kind of just sit with not being able to write and like let it come to you, or is there anything you do to try and spur yourself on?
I tried for a long time during the pandemic, like different writing exercises, and I definitely like wish that sometimes I tried. I don't know. I don't really regret much, but it is helpful to write every day, even if you don't want to. For me, like I felt like I was trying to write so that I could tell other people that I was writing, which is not healthy. But the act of like of getting something done to then like be able to reference back is helpful. I learned. So I definitely. I mean, I carry like a journal with me everywhere. I have different like sizes of them to like fit in different like pockets or like bags, or like I definitely I force myself to do it, because it also, like music aside, just helps me feel like a sane person.
Yeah, like process your thoughts. Yeah,
for sure.
I get that.
Yeah.
Also during the pandemic last year, you worked as a poll worker for the election. Why was it important for you to kind of be involved in that way in kind of politics?
I mean, I just feel like if you're able-bodied and curious, it matters to be involved, locally and not locally, but especially because it was a possibility. There's not a chance that I wouldn't have done it. And I also think it's cool to make it social as well, like to have brought friends in and to have been inspired by friends to get involved. Like, it's just so important. I think it's something that, unfortunately, for a really long time, like younger people had assumed we would be okay in the hands of like the older generation, but clearly we can't like rely on them to like shape the future that we want to see. So I think just being involved really mattered to me personally when I did it, but also just like permanently. And I think like when I think about like songwriting, for example, and like where I pull inspiration from, it's like not just other music or like relationships in my life. It's like seeing people that are so passionate about whatever it is that they're passionate about. Like I feel so compelled to like do my best work when like I see young people just like absolutely kicking ass, and like whether it's like political or from writing standpoint or at school or you know, working in their local communities. I just so was great. It was a great experience. I definitely will be doing it again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How does the mood kind of feel in America right now? Do you feel like it's more hopeful these days?
I think yes. I also am aware that I live in like a super liberal area. But the day of the inauguration, there was a parade, you know? Like it's the kind of thing where I think that there's like, what I've noticed is that there is a greater sense of calm to a degree, but I also am like so hyper aware why that is. Like I know that it's a lot of it is where I live, like the family that I'm lucky enough to be in, the people that are in my life that have very similar beliefs and perspectives that I have. And at the same time, it's like things have been so broken in America since its inception, but it's definitely never comfortable, and it is scary, and I know that my like day-to-day life is not it is the outlier in terms of like if America feels more hopeful. Like I can say I know that like I feel safe, but I also know that like so many people do not feel remotely safe at all, ever living in the US. So another reason why it's really important to do anything in our communities.
Another person who is in your life these days is Olivia Rodrigo, who told NME that Minor inspired Driver's License. How does it feel to have the biggest song of the year inspired by your own work?
I mean, she did not need me, you know. She's as good of a person as she is an artist. Like truly, she's it's so cool to watch like peers just like killing it. It really like makes me so happy. She deserves it more than anyone, and I listen to her music all the time, so it's definitely like the feeling is very mutual there. I think she's just the sweetest like legend ever. Yeah.
Can we expect to see you guys working together at any point?
We definitely hang out all the time. We were carving pumpkins, so maybe if we carve pumpkins, we can find time to write someday. Yeah.
That would be great.
Yeah.
What are your hopes for 2022, seeing as we're almost at the end of this year, which is crazy?
I'm like, no, we're not. Well, I just am so excited for tour. It feels lucky to be in a place now where I'm not like dreading it, which I was for sure. I'm excited now. I'm excited to I feel so lucky to have the opportunity to travel, even in the weird like broken up way that like tour is traveling. It's to be in new places, because I learned this past year that when I left the bubble of my bedroom that I felt like I could write about different things. And I think that my biggest fear as a writer is holding like up a mirror to myself too much, where songs either become predictable or just uninteresting. Because I think I think that there can be a kind of like narcissism that comes with writing about your personal life, unless you are like constantly trying to challenge yourself to step outside of your comfort zone. And so I think for this next year, I feel really lucky that it's kind of a given that I'm going to be seeing a lot of new things, and I definitely want to come back here a lot more.
Lots of exciting things coming up.
Yeah.
Great. Can't wait to see them all unfold. Thank you so much for your time,
Thank you for your
Gracie.
time.
Thank you. Thanks.